Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while, but guess what? It's 2026, so new year, new me. Probably not. But what I am going to do is start a new series, and this is going to be called Cinema vs. Reality. So I've started a role. It's not new. I've been in this role for ages, which is a transport safety investigator, or in normal people's terms, an air crash investigator. And one of my pet peeves is watching movies and watching this whole crash sequence from a plane and it not being realistic at all. And then I generally hate the movie afterwards and I don't want to watch the rest of the movie afterwards. So, yeah, I'm going to go through whether or not a specific scene in a movie or scenes in a movie, depending on how many scenes there are in a movie, are realistic and whether or not you should be worried about them. I don't know. People keep telling me that they're worried about flying on planes because of what they see in movies. But I'm here to debunk a lot of the stuff and tell you what is very realistic to not realistic, and we'll go from there. So please enjoy the series. If you have any movie ideas, make sure to stick them in the comments below. And let's get started for 2026. All right, so our first movie for 2026 and episode's one movie is Castaway. Now, I'm going to specifically focus on the main first scene of the movie. Well, it's not the first scene in the plane, but the main accident scene in the movie. Yeah, this movie I've watched not recently. So yeah, let's go through it, see what we can find. Basically, the way this is going to work is I'm going to rate the movie. It's out of 20 stars, but there's 4 different sections to it. So there's the flight sequence. So this is the sequence leading up to the accident. You've got the crash sequence. So that's how the aircraft crashes. You've got the wreckage sequence. So what the wreckage looks like after the accident, and survivability. So whether or not someone should have actually survived that accident. So we've got 4 different categories. There's 5 stars for each. And then in a total, you'll get out of 20. And that will be put into a rating for the movie. So let's begin for Castaway.
Yeah. Where are we?
Somewhere over the Pacific Ocean.
You pilots, you're funny.
So, first of all, somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, and I do distinctly remember there being an actual flight number for this specific flight, which I'm pretty sure is FedEx 88. It is an actual flight that there's an actual flight number. I don't, for the life of me, remember where it goes, but I don't think it goes over the Pacific. Hang on. 2 seconds. Let me check. So I found the current FedEx 88 route, which is Anchorage to Oakland. I don't think that was the case back then because flight numbers change all the time. This movie came out in 2000, so I wonder if. Okay, so I did actually find the route for FedEx Flight 88 in 2000 when this movie came out, and it is Memphis to Penang, Malaysia. So this does go over the Pacific Ocean. So far, so good for the way this movie is rolling. Because I did not expect it to be 1, a proper route, or 2, over the actual Pacific Ocean. So far, so good.
Tahiti Control, FedEx 88, position Jenna at 1526.
Hey, is all this turbulence from Santa and those 8 tiny reindeer?
Camera at 1620. Eric is next. Fuel 905.5.
Okay, so I really appreciate that there is proper radar on their radar screens, and it does look like bad weather. And that actually fits in with what is actually happening, so that's great. I can also see what looks like an engine page to the left, bottom left of the screen. That would say that there's 3 engines. If there's 3 engines, I'm pretty sure this would probably be the MD-11 or the MD-10, which I'm pretty sure FedEx had at the time. So that also fits in with the movie. So again, so far so good.
Blaine, if you get to a time we're deviating south for weather, make another position plot on your deviation left.
Deviate left. Tahiti Control, FedEx 88, position Jenna at 1526, flight level
I got us
350,
plotted.
expecting
We're 200
Tamara
miles
at
south of the original course.
1620.
Continue
Eric is
planning and
next.
check contingency procedure.
So the paper trail of where the actual route was to where they currently are, they don't do paper trails anymore. Well, I don't actually think they do anything paper-wise anymore. Most pilots would have an EFB, so an electronic flight bag, which would tell them where the route is that they had filed for and then where they are. This will then help calculate where they are along this intended route. They are having communications issues, which also doesn't help in this situation, but we'll see what happens.
Tahiti Control, FedEx 88, broadcasting in the blind. How do you read? I've never been out of comm this long.
Try to higher HF frequency?
Tahiti Control, FedEx 88.
So there is actually a higher HF frequency for when pilots cannot get in contact with anyone. When that pilot said that he was transmitting blind, it is because they don't have comms with anyone, so they're kind of just trying to figure out if anyone can hear them in the area. And when he said that he hasn't been out of comms for that long, I don't actually know the timing of where this is in the movie or whether I'm on the flight, so it doesn't help in this scenario, but
88, broadcasting in the
Better buckle
blind.
up, Chuck.
How
It's
do
gonna
you
get
read?
bumpy.
Tahiti Control, FedEx 88, do you read?
he's going to the bathroom after he's told to buckle up because they are going into weather and there will most likely be turbulence. This, I want to laugh at this because blatant disregard for something a pilot has told you. I mean, just sit down and strap in. You don't need to go to a bathroom.
Tahiti Control, FedEx 88, position Jenna at 1526, flight level 350, expecting Tamara at 1.
Okay, so this is obviously the start of the crash sequence or the issues that are going on. It's a rapid decompression. So I guess depending on the size of the hole is what would make Tom Hanks's character go sideways. The whole misting idea is correct. So I'm assuming that they're flying cruise, which would be anywhere between 32,000 and 39,000 feet. So misting is where the temperature inside the aircraft, the temperature outside the aircraft and the dew point, it actually creates a mist. In this scenario, I actually think the misting might be thicker to the point where you couldn't really see anything, but that kind of ruins the movie magic side of it, right? So I will let that slide off this because obviously you want to see what happens in the movie. So So you heard one pilot say that there was an explosion. I don't think they would say explosion. I think they would actually say some sort of depressurization, unless there's something that we haven't seen or heard or any sort of warnings that they're getting on the dash. The mask that is being given to Tom Hanks's character, because of how high up they are in cruise altitude, you will probably only have about 20 seconds to have oxygen to your brain before you pass out. So that is correct so far in this instance that you would need it. It doesn't fit the whole mask yourself up before you mask other people, but yeah. So that pilot that originally gave him the mask, I'm pretty sure it's been over 20 seconds and he would have passed out at this point. And yeah, I'm not sure why they've given him a whole raft to carry out, because if this is like any larger aircraft, there should be slides that will automatically come out when you open one of the doors. So unless he's thinking it's not going to happen, or they're not going to open a door or attempt to open a door, I don't know. Well, it's interesting that he's just given him a whole raft, and I don't know where it's actually come from. I don't know if it's part of the MD-11, MD-10 aircraft that they have on board, but I don't know, just weird. And the fact that he doesn't even have a life jacket on. So he's just said masks off. It's been about 30 seconds since they put the masks on. So I don't know. Should I take it from 32,000 feet? He did say 15. So 15 would make me think that they're at 15,000. That wouldn't be the time that you would take your mask off. You'd probably take it off at around 10,000 because that's where the breathable air is. So already I'm questioning the 15 number that is called. So let's just say they've gone from 32,000 feet to 15,000 feet in about 20 seconds. That is a very, very fast descent rate. It would normally take a lot longer, and especially if you're in the scenario where you do have this rapid depressurization. Even when they said originally that what was it, they had an explosion, you would think that therefore there's damage to your aircraft. And what most pilots will do is they will bring the aircraft down slower as to not destroy their aircraft any more than what has already happened. I understand there's also weather playing in this scenario, but still, if you're in an emergency situation, pilots would not bring the aircraft down this quickly unless there's an uncommanded pitch down, which so far I haven't actually seen in this sequence. Priorities, right? What would you prefer, to keep your things or to survive? Okay, that cargo should not be able to slide like that. So at the bottom of cargo is normally these little clips, and it's essentially there's roller tracks on there, so you can roll them on and then they clip into place. And there's these special clips to make sure that they don't move. And they're specifically designed so that if you end up in really bad turbulence, they don't move. So the fact that so far all I've seen is a decompression, some turbulence, and all of a sudden this cargo's moving, that would be another thing that's gone wrong, like a mechanical issue with those clips. But there's normally clips, 4 clips on a. So yeah, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. Again, really bad turbulence. This is why we say always keep your seatbelts on no matter what. Unless you're going to the bathroom, then yeah, I guess that's fine. If you're just sitting in your seat, keep the seatbelt on. There has been previous cases. I'll give you an example from Australia. So off the west coast of Western Australia, there was an uncommanded pitch down in an Airbus aircraft, and there were a lot of injuries from people actually hitting the top of the cabin because they weren't clipped in with their seatbelts. So that's why you want to keep your seatbelts fastened at all times, because if you do end up in this random turbulence that came out of nowhere, you don't want to be getting hurt. So yeah, just keep your seatbelts fastened. Okay, so they're facing directly down at the water, at the ocean. So they're vertically down. I don't have a model plane. I should bring a model plane with me. Do I have a model plane? Maybe. It's not the right type of plane, but I'll bring one for the next video. But essentially, they are pitched nose down. So it looks like they're going directly down again, like to the water. If that was the case, we're now another minute and a half into this accident sequence. Oh, there's so many other things that would have gone wrong if you pitched that nose down, and recovery at that point would also be so hard, and the impact into water would be, I'm sorry, you wouldn't survive it. Okay, now they're suddenly level with the water coming in, and he's given the brace for impact. So it's almost like they've come in for a proper ditching, but it doesn't make sense to what was just shown on the front beforehand. So how he hasn't been knocked unconscious yet from being thrown by the water, I don't know. Also, lighting. You might get emergency lighting, but it wouldn't be that bright. It'd actually be pretty dark, especially if you've gone into water and it's nighttime outside. Okay, so I actually would have expected it to fill up with water a lot quicker than it already has in this movie, especially if we're talking about an explosion or depressurization, which would mean there's a hole somewhere already in the aircraft. So I would have expected it to fill a lot quicker, because you can't actually see it anywhere in the front of the aircraft in the beginning part of the movie, and the way Tom Hanks's body's kind of being pulled to the back would make me think it's somewhere near the back of the aircraft, and he's at the back of the aircraft, so to actually like that whole process doesn't work. Also, the way the skin just split and the water came through and made a hole, that also wouldn't be a thing. So unless you've got a perfectly round hole issue, which the skin of the aircraft isn't made that way, so that wouldn't happen. I don't know. It's just sus on all parts. The chance of that snapping off that easily, uh, yeah, I'd be sus about that too. Why is there fire on the water? That's all dramatic effect. There would not be fire on the water. yes, avgas is flammable. The fuel that they put into the aircraft, Jet A1, whichever they've used, yes, it's flammable, but it wouldn't be on fire on top of the water. So now I remember why this movie freaked me out as a kid, because that engine coming and looking like it's gonna swallow you up if you survived. Um, so, okay, if it's an MD-11 or MD-10 and it's got the 3 engines, you've got the engine on the tail, which I'm assuming that's this engine. It wouldn't be running. If it's hit water, the blades of that engine would have been completely destroyed, especially when you fly that hard into water. So that engine wouldn't be running. I don't know where it's getting its fuel from, because so far the aircraft is completely falling apart. The whole front section's fallen to the bottom of the ocean, according to the sequence that literally just happened 5 seconds ago. So yeah, so far this engine shouldn't be running, and it shouldn't be up on the water like that. So yeah. That is all also dramatic effect. An engine is not gonna run and then sound like it's spooling up, suck in water, and explode. Not gonna happen. Just, yeah, just not gonna happen. I feel like the sinking of that tail section is very Titanic-esque. It is showing all the air bubbles coming up, but with how much of the fuselage was already dropped to the ocean and separated from the top half, and where I think the decompressurization issues happen, which is towards the back, I don't actually know if there'd be that much air in the tail section. So that also doesn't make sense. Alright, so I think the rest of this clip is just him on his raft out to sea. So, yeah. There's a lot of issues with the second half of this clip. I don't think he should have survived this. I don't think, like, if anyone manages to survive something like that, I'd be really, really surprised. Like, there's a higher power looking after you, because, yeah, no. With how hard that aircraft hit the water, it should have disintegrated, or at least gone into a lot more pieces than what it actually is. That whole front section, back section splitting off into 2, I mean, that's very little amount of damage than I would have expected. Like, I would have expected it to be a lot more damage. The engine running still. There's so many issues in that whole section. So if we go through my 4 categories, we've got the initial flight sequence. So I don't have any issue with the initial flight sequence. They did everything great on the screens. You could sort of figure out what aircraft it was. All the calls that were making were great. So I'd give that 5 out of 5. The actual crash sequence, which I'm going to say is Actually, no, I'm gonna take back my 5 stars for the flight sequence because when they got into the emergency, which uh, actually, no, 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 5 out of 5 for the sequence. It was the crash sequence from when the rapid depressurization happened. So, a lot of issues with that. The crew were also just yelling at each other. So there was no CRM, crew resource management. There were no checklists happening. I think there's one comment which he made, which there was like the ditching switch, which I know some aircraft have. I don't actually know if the MD-11 has it. But in that whole process, I couldn't see anyone pull out a checklist. I didn't see anyone call checklist items. It was very chaotic. So most crews would not react that way. If they did, good luck surviving because that was just really bad. So the whole crash sequence, I'd give it a 1. Wreckage, I'd also give it a 1 because engines don't keep running. Survivability. Look, I'll give survivability a 2 because I feel like a miracle could happen and someone could survive, but most likely not. So you've got a 5, a 1, a 1, and a 2. So you got a 9 out of 20, which is a fail in like school terms or university terms. It's a fail. Would I watch this movie now that I've like seen the accident sequence? I mean, I feel like it's such a small part of the movie and Tom Hanks is such a great actor that I could probably watch the rest of the movie. I don't know if it's ruined it for me, which is good considering I loved this movie as a kid, even though it freaked me out. So, yeah, a lot of the stuff that they've shown won't happen in an actual accident. So you don't need to freak out about that. This is also a cargo plane. So, I guess I wanted to make it more dramatic. So I'm going to rate this as a cinema accident. A very cinema accident. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you have any other thoughts or you disagree with me, please put it into the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you have any other movies that you would like me to watch or look at accident sequences, please make sure to put it in the comments below. And I'll see you guys on the flip side.